Hey guys, it's Romulus here, and 2019, huh? That two-word phrase kind of summarizes my thoughts of the year. At first, it was kind of the same old mellow stuff we were getting shoveled already, but then in spring the floodgates opened and everyone and their grandfather, or in this case just their father, was allowed to have one of their songs enter the public's conscience. It was an amazing and magical time for hit music, at least for a couple months. Sometime in the middle of summer, it hit me that none of these songs would leave. The top 10 was basically the same for 4 months until the end of summer. And now, we're kinda here, starting a new year, new decade, and new discussion of what is good and what is bad. But today, we're here to discuss just the good, and 2019 produced a fair number of good, some of which I fear will be dated in record time due to the combination of nostalgia bait and novelty. But who knows? For now, let's just celebrate the gems this clusterfuck of the year brought us. So let's start this list off with
Ice water turn Atlantic. Night calling in a phantom. Told them, hold it, don't you panic. Took an island, felt the mansion. Drop the roof, more expansion. Drive a coupe, you can stand it.
It's interesting to start the year off with a vision of who would dominate the charts and be the biggest stars of the year. The people who would not only influence the landscape, but also be at the forefront of musical conversation and attention. The spring and summer of this year threw all predictions I had out the window, with all of the people who would never expect to have a hit in 2019 having massive hits. So many people benefited from the bath salts the public must have taken to get certain songs into the public discussion, but not all were winners, and if there was anyone who lost hard from the mid-year reshuffle, it was Ariana Grande. In February, after her fifth studio album dropped to huge commercial success, she was on top of the world with 3 songs hitting the top 3 at the same time, only ever to be done before by the Beatles. Compare this to the end of the year, where she had 2 back-to-back flops, with one of them not even making the year-end Hot 100. While I already bashed on her miserable attempt of flexing her wealth, I think we should start this list off with her compelling autobiography of how 2018 sucked. Thank You Next is a master of the phrase show, don't tell. Instead of following in Taylor Swift's footsteps by brooding headfirst, full of rage and lacking any self-awareness, Ariana Grande plays the game smart. The first verse opens up by shedding light on all of her past relationships in a short one-sentence description for each famous massive star. The genius move in this is despite giving her opinion on what she thought of each guy, the meaning is completely up to interpretation. Do you think she's throwing shade at some of these guys? Or is she being genuine and sass-free? It's like a choose-your-own-adventure game, in the fact that the choices don't matter because the end result is the same. Either way, Ariana Grande does not care and has moved on from these demons from the miserable year that was 2018. And that misery was exceedingly worse for Miss Grande, who had one of her concerts bombed, had a breakup with a 2-year relationship that ended up with the man overdosing, and worst of all, she dated Pete Davidson. Christ, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Despite all of these horrific tragedies in her life, Ariana Grande doesn't even come off depressed as she confidently rides the amazingly glossy groove that twinkles in and out of the track to remind you that, in the end, everything will be alright.
Ice water turn Atlantic. Night calling in a phantom. Told them, hold it, don't you panic. Took an island, felt the mansion. Drop the roof, more expansion. Drive a coupe, you can stand it.
Remember 2 years ago when this gem aired? Funniest commercial ever. I bring that up to highlight how important marketing can be in making or breaking the success of a product. If you promote a new release in the wrong way, the product might not get the attention it deserves, and as a result, it can underperform or even flop completely on release, no matter how good the product is. Equally important to how you promote a product is when you promote a product. Timing is everything, and making sure that competition is clear for a launch can pave the way for success, and if you don't, well, then you can get things like this. Like, we all know that releasing a Christmas song in July is a bad idea, so why wasn't it so obvious to release a song about the summer at the beginning of the season instead of the end?
Real ass nigga give a fuck about a bitch. It is what it is, there's some 5-star dick. She a big gold freak, it's a must that I hit. It's a hot girl summer, so you know she gotta live.
Megan Thee Stallion is one of the newest female rappers that was birthed from the explosion that was Bodak Yellow. And while she may not be as aggressively mudslinging as Cardi B has been, Megan Thee Stallion sells confidence like Girl Scouts selling Thin Mints in March. Despite the comparison earlier, Megan has been paving her own road and has been the massive influence herself. The song's title is based on a popular catchphrase she coined. The song Hot Girl Summer isn't just a banger, which, to be fair, that catchy fast trap beat does make the song slap. It also has space for Megan to shove guys' toxic masculinity out of the way.
Handle me? Who gon' handle me? Thinking he's a player, he's a member on the team. He put in all that work, he wanna be the MVP. I told him ain't no taming me, I love my niggas equally.
Flipping the word player like that is such a bold and genius move on Megan's part. It's not just her who has some good lines.
Who gon' tell him that my bitch is getting her degree? And when we say it's hot girl summer, we ain't talking about degrees.
For those who don't know, Megan Thee Stallion is pursuing a career in pharmacy while also being an A-list rapper. That is some true dedication. Despite the song being about women running the summer and having two female artists performing pretty well, I think Ty Dolla $ign really steals the show. He's been called to do hooks and appear on pop songs at a frequent rate in this past decade, which is impressive seeing as how most of them are pretty bad. It's glad that he gets his moment to shine as he surfs the wave provided by a horn-like synth and a heavy beat. I remember back in my early teen years when summer used to have fun jams, and Hot Girl Summer was a reminder of how fun songs should be during that time of year.
Ice water turn Atlantic. Night calling in a phantom. Told them, hold it, don't you panic. Took an island, left the mansion. Drop the roof, more expansion. Drive a coupe, you can stand it.
Hello. I heard talking into a fan can get you hundreds of millions of views, so this is what I'm going for. Is it working? Yeah, it's not working. Just play the clip.
Duh.
Billie Eilish being one of the biggest breakout artists of the year and being one of the biggest artists of the year in general was the best thing to happen, and her massive hit, Bad Guy, boils down her appeal pretty well. At the introduction, we get a riff that's just an awesome bass-driven groove for which this is the first time you will hear the wonderful production work of equally talented brother Finneas O'Connor. Since it's just him and his sister on all of these tracks, Finneas is able to bring in all of his ideas without any executive telling him no, and he has free reign to which allows some unconventional moments, including the fan.
I'm the bad guy.
Ignoring the bizarro tones and musical choices, Bad Guy also has a pretty well-written premise. It may be a stretch, but this is actually similar to the song I just discussed, with both of them being about how the protagonist deals with toxic masculinity. Megan takes the route of pushing guys to the side while flexing about her own awesomeness in an anthem of female empowerment. Billie, on the other hand, thinks the best way to tackle jocks is to satirize their entire existence and creeping them the fuck out at the same time.
Make your girlfriend mad type, might seduce your dad type.
With some of the allegations going on, this should probably read, might seduce your Drake type. It builds up two segments where she's going along a joke about how she's tough and putting this obvious pose to reflect how frat guys act tough, but on the inside they're insecure, scared, and have addictions to alcohol. Then this happens. The track comes to a screeching halt only to be put on full force with the smash of hi-hats, towering bass, and demented hellspawn laughs. They better have given Chucky a writing credit here. It takes all of the fun, toying self-awareness and spits it back in your face with the harsh detestments taking over, as her patience has clearly run out. A clever way to end the song that even has her being Mr. Steal Your Man in the last line.
You said she's scared of me? I mean,
I don't see what she sees, but maybe it's cause I'm wearing your cologne.
Take that, Ariana Grande.
Ice water turn Atlantic. Night calling in a phantom. Told them, hold it, don't you panic. Took an island, left the mansion. Drop the roof, more expansion. Drive a coupe, you can stand it.
The statement, rap has become the new pop, it has become the biggest genre in the mainstream, has been in the public eye for a couple years and has been beaten to death. But I'd like to take a look at a unique angle from this change of tide. We have to worry about the latest new breakout going to jail for the next 3 years. Plenty of artists have always been put in jail before, but those are usually well-established artists who got their full impact pushed onto the musical landscape, then getting sent when they're past their prime. Not young, newly discovered kids that just signed their first record deal. Maybe new artists should stop being such dumbasses and pieces of shit, so the turnover rate in the rap scene isn't comparable to a rural Denny's. So please, stop doing shit like filming yourself getting sex from a 13-year-old, or murdering your friends in a shootout, or moving from Britain at a young age without government approval.
How much money you got? A lot. How many problems you got? A lot. How many people done doubted? A lot. Left you out to rap? A lot.
As of this recording, 21 Savage has been released from ICE custody while his application for citizenship is being reviewed, so his case may be solved. But the Free 21 Savage campaign seemed to surpass anything the man actually released this year, which is good because it got him freed from the fear of deportation and not being able to visit his largest audience. But it's also sad at the same time, because his musical output was very good this year. A lot is way smarter than you'd expect it to be from a 21 Savage song. The soul sample is left to wail throughout, creating tension and setting up the feeling of painful loss captured in the lyrics. I said in a previous video that hip-hop connects with so many people because its origins are from harsh nature of poverty that many people can view as personal or at the very least authentic. A lot balances the reserved celebration of making it to the top with the knowledge that there was a heavy price paid along the way.
You out to rap? A lot. How many pray that you flop? A lot. How many lawyers you got? A lot. How many times you got shot? A lot. How many niggas you shot? A lot.
See, I'm not the biggest fan of repetition in choruses, but that's because most songs do that to be lazy. Meanwhile, the word "a lot" is being emphasized over and over again to communicate all of the cores and struggles involved with escaping the harsh nature of the streets. All of that being said, though, this song probably wouldn't have made it onto the list proper without the J. Cole verse kicking it into high gear.
Question.
J. Cole effortlessly connects 21 Savage's themes of rags to riches by talking about his own grind and calling out those who cheated to stay at the top.
How many faking they streams? Getting they plays from machines. I can see behind the smoke and mirrors, niggas ain't really big as they seem. Okay, no problem, I show up on every one album. You know what the outcome will be. I'm betting 1,000. It's got to the point that these rappers don't even like rapping with me. Fuck it, come my nigga 21 Savage just hit me and told me he sent me a spot on a new record he got. He called it a lie. I opened my book and I jot.
Despite all of my problems with J. Cole's music, I have to respect him as a man who seems to be hungry and strives to better himself every time he writes, even making a whole song about his failures when he thinks his new song is a letdown. What really gets me is the part in the middle where he name-checks another rapper who got arrested this year.
Paper Tekashi, they wanting a rap. I picture him inside a cell on a cot, reflecting on how he made it to the top, wondering if it was worth it or not.
Here, J. Cole doesn't seem to be defending the horrendous actions committed to land Tekashi in jail. Instead, he's trying to analyze the situation and make a smart comment on how if Tekashi was such a piece of human scum, he wouldn't have gone viral, but because of that, he paid the price and got his career ended early. Once again, a comment on how people go from the bottom to the top. Man, this is just a layered cake of social mobility.
Ice water turn Atlantic. Night calling in a phantom. Told them, hold it, don't you panic. Took an island, left the mansion. Drop the roof, more expansion. Drive a coupe, you can stand it.
Despite the many problems the new Star Wars movies have, one thing that will stay consistent is the iconic score. John Williams has been the sole reason I can have any hope when going to the theater and watching the latest in the long-running saga. A good soundtrack can make good movies even better by adding tension or setting a message across to the moviegoer. So when songs designed for movies cross over into the top 40, they're usually very good. Or overbloated soulless trash that's trying so hard to be impactful but feels forced. Luckily, in 2019, there were 2 songs from 2 great movies that came to bat, and only one of them made my list.
Then you're left in the dust, unless I stuck by you. You're a sunflower, I think your love would be too much.
I like Shallow a lot, but Sunflower has the remarkable ability to not directly reference the movie, yet also conveys the feeling the movie presents. If you haven't seen the movie, you will be able to understand the full context just from hearing that, and that's a quality Shallow does not have. It's able to cross over on its own, and that's probably why it's now in the biggest songs of all time, in the top 100 biggest songs of all time. The beatbox-sounding percussion and extra bouncy synth tones convey a youthful feeling, and combine that with Swae Lee's boyish crooning, it all feels like I'm transported into a Spider-Man comic book every time I listen. What's interesting to note is that the song is a duet, and I mean that in the actual definition, not just when there's 2 people on a track for no reason. No, this song has actual interplay, and it's very smart about it as well. Swae Lee represents the fast-paced younger side, who is in love and wants to go far with the girl he likes. In the second verse, Post Malone is revealed and sounds aged with his rugged delivery. He's reflecting the wiser voice in the back of the protagonist's brain that wants to play the whole situation safe so you don't lose out. The whole song is a nice tale of yin and yang that doesn't even need a bridge, because then there would be resolution, and here the song just leaves it up to interpretation. It's one of the few times being shorter and without a bridge has helped the song. And also, I should say that it sounds really great. Swae Lee's auto-tuned crooning. I mentioned it previously, but I never talked about how good he pulls it off. Auto-tune has been used as a tool many times before, but Swae Lee actually justifies it as being useful to help make you a better singer. Sunflower, a great song to go with the best superhero movie we've received in a long time.